When the real leading lady showed up, I was already carrying his child. I couldn't fight destiny. He once risked everything for me, breaking off his engagement with her. But later he resented me deeply. Couldn't even stand looking at me. Finally, I got tired. I let go of our toxic relationship. Even gave up our child. Until one evening, 6 years later, a little boy knocked on my door. He stood there with a serious face and said, "My dad doesn't want me anymore. Can I stay with you?" I froze, speechless. Asher Wilson frowned, lifted his adorable little face and recited carefully. "My teacher said, parents have the responsibility and obligation to raise their children." The half-open door interrupted his rehearsed speech. I stepped aside calmly and said, "Come in." The warm light from inside made his eyes widen slightly. His eyes sparkled mysteriously. He lifted his chin, huffed, and walked in obediently. When I closed the door and turned around, Asher was curiously looking around my apartment. Catching my gaze, he quickly looked away, nervously gripping his backpack straps. With a tense little face, he announced, "My name is Asher Wilson." It sounded like an introduction, but also like a reminder that he was the child River Wilson and I had together. I knew from the first moment I saw him. I was certain who he was, 'cause he looked almost identical to River Wilson, like they were carved from the same mold. Seeming disappointed by my calm reaction, he unhappily turned his head away, refusing to look at me. I placed a small, yellow backpack in the entryway and took him to wash his hands. "Let's eat first," Asher obediently said. "Okay." By the time I brought out the food, he had already climbed onto the chair by himself. I asked him why he suddenly came to find me. Asher buried his head, looking at the vegetables in his bowl. His little round head bobbed up and down as he mumbled. I had a disagreement with him. He got upset and told me to leave. Said never to come back. So it was a tantrum. Running away from home. I looked at him, confused. "But how did you get here? Your kindergarten is in a different city." Asher looked up, his eyes proud. "I used my savings. I called a taxi." The driver asked if I was alone. I told him my mom was waiting for me at the destination. He believed me. I showed him the address. I've memorized it for a long time. Grandfather's secretary mentioned it once when they were discussing where you lived. I've never forgotten it. My heart clenched. A 6-year-old child, using his savings to take a taxi across cities, just to find the mother who abandoned him. River Wilson would probably come get him soon. That made sense. 6 years ago, the Wilson family fought me vigorously for custody of Asher. There was no way they'd give him up. Now, my chopsticks paused. I couldn't quite describe what I was feeling. I hadn't expected Asher tonight, so I only made a simple dinner. 2 dishes and a soup. He was picky. He wouldn't eat onions or carrots. After picking through everything, he had nothing left to eat. Asher stared miserably at the mangled vegetables, sneaking glances at me, then guiltily swallowed them down. When we first met, he had a hint of arrogance and pride. Now he was picky and didn't like vegetables. He must have been pampered and spoiled rotten at the Wilson house. He probably hadn't suffered much. I felt a bit relieved after washing the dishes. I waited for River to send someone to pick him up. I waited until 9:30 p.m. 6-year-olds get sleepy early. He pulled out pajamas from his backpack, looked around with his eyes and pouted. "There's only one bedroom. Do I have to squeeze into one bed with you tonight?" I glanced at the clock on the wall. For some reason, the Wilson family still hadn't sent anyone. I had to compromise. "Yes, you'll sleep with me tonight." I thought Asher would throw a fit. After all, my cramped, one-bedroom apartment was nothing compared to the Wilson family's luxury mansion. But Asher just pressed his lips together, his eyes flickering. After washing his face and struggling into his pajamas, he kicked his legs and climbed onto the bed by himself, just like at dinner. Though he seemed disgusted, he still quietly ate all the vegetables I put in his bowl. He burrowed under the blanket, creating a little mountain. Somehow he found a storybook, peeked out at me, and couldn't help urging, "Aren't you going to read me a bedtime story?" He actually looked pretty happy about it. After putting Asher to sleep, I pulled up River Wilson's number. After hesitating for a long time, I still didn't call. River and I had been separated for 6 years. At first, we both thought we could fight destiny back. Then my family suddenly went bankrupt. The Wilson family broke off our engagement, secretly arranging for River to marry Lily Harper instead for me. He risked everything to break off the engagement with Lily. He even gave up his position as heir old Mr. Wilson was so angry with him, he couldn't get out of bed for half a month. Seeing me cry, he still endured the pain, smiling lazily as he comforted me. I thought things would get better. The bankruptcy would get better. River would get better. Our future would get better. But they didn't. River and I got married in secret without telling anyone. Maybe because River had been so unwavering in his commitment to me. When I got pregnant, I never once considered not having the baby. Until right before delivery. I called River over and over through the pain. But he never answered. A neighbor took me to the hospital. When I woke up, I saw a cold, indifferent River Wilson. I didn't understand how a person could change so drastically overnight. So drastically that when he looked at me, his eyes were full of unfamiliar disgust. Lily Harper came to see me. Once. From her, I learned the truth about this world. Due to a system error in timing, when the delayed leading lady finally appeared, the male lead had already developed feelings for someone else. As a correction, the male lead's misplaced emotions began to reverse. However much he loved me before, he now resented me just as much. But Lily told me something else too. She said the correction wasn't permanent. It was tied to the storyline. As long as I was part of the main narrative, the system would keep forcing River to hate me. But if I left the story, if I stepped away from the main plot, the system's control would weaken. It wouldn't disappear overnight, but it would fade. Slowly. Painfully. River's real feelings would start to surface again. He would have to fight for them. He would have to struggle against the programming every single day. But it was possible. Love could win. If he was willing to fight for it. Lily looked at me with pity and sadness. Before leaving, she asked quietly, "Have you thought about what will happen to your child's future?" I suddenly froze, feeling lost. Who should I blame? Should I blame River Wilson? But he couldn't even understand his own feelings. Should I blame destiny? But what good would that do? I couldn't change anything. At that time, my parents got into an accident on their way to visit me. At the hospital, they fell into a coma, possibly becoming unresponsive for life. I nearly broke down. Lily's words kept echoing in my mind. I just felt this world was so exhausting, so exhausting. I stood in the cold room, feeling like there was no way out. The thought of leaving this exhausting world crossed my mind. The baby in the hospital bed suddenly started crying loudly. In a daze, I thought if I left this world, what would happen to him? Would this world allow his existence? Would Lily mistreat him? Or would he be despised by River Wilson, like me, enduring countless grievances alone, and finally fade away quietly while everyone wished for it? I started trembling all over. I went back to the bed, my hands shaking as I reached toward him. I thought about taking him with me so he wouldn't have to suffer in this cold world. But then he stopped crying. His red tear-stained eyes stared at me as if no matter where he went, he wanted to stay with his mother. Until the nurses and bodyguards sensed something was wrong and burst through the door, roughly pushing me away. I looked down at my trembling hands, finally realizing what terrible thing I had almost done. Under Lily's manipulation, the news quickly reached the Wilson family. Old Mr. Wilson demanded to see me and began fighting for custody. I didn't ask for anything. I let go of River Wilson, who despised me, took custody and signed the divorce papers very decisively. I only asked for $2 million. Youth knows no sorrow. The former heiress of the Jade family, who once casually spent hundreds of thousands, now found herself desperate over a few $1,000s in hospital bills. From beginning to end, River Wilson never appeared. He resented me so much he wouldn't even look at me. So I accepted my fate. I let go of our toxic relationship and gave up our child. I freed him and I freed myself, until a soft little bundle threw himself into my arms. And I finally snapped back to reality. Asher closed his eyes and whimpered, curling up sweetly in my embrace, as if he had finally found a comfortable position, and was sleeping soundly. He anxiously gripped my clothes tightly, as if afraid that when he opened his eyes would disappear. I looked at that innocent, childish face and couldn't help but sigh softly. If he knew his mother wanted to end his life the moment he was born, would he still come looking for me? He'd probably run away from me as fast as he could. By morning, River Wilson still hadn't appeared. I didn't know what he was trying to do. The Wilson family fought so hard for custody back then, but now they just didn't want him anymore. I woke Asher up early and took a taxi to send him to school. His kindergarten was in a different city from mine, but fortunately only an hour's drive away. Before getting out of the car, he made me promise 3 times that I would pick him up after school, whining and clinging to my hand, until he spotted a car in front of the kindergarten. His eyes lit up. He hurriedly pulled me out of the car. As we got closer, he deliberately slowed down, pretending to casually block the path of a chubby little boy who had just gotten out, as if intentionally showing off. Asher held my hand and waved it in front of the boy. Then very loudly, in a voice everyone could hear, he asked me, "Mom, you'll come pick me up after school, right?" This was the first time Asher called me Mom, perhaps because I had been absent for 6 whole years. He had never actively called me mom, not even when he knocked on my door. The chubby boy stared at me skeptically and said, "If you have a mom, why didn't she ever take you to school before?" Asher huffed, his gaze full of disdain. "My mom is busy with work today. She especially took time off to bring me to school." He emphasized the word especially very heavily. He held my hand and walked to the kindergarten gate, in front of everyone as if showing off, wanting everyone to see. Before parting, he asked again very shyly, "You'll come pick me up, right?" Seeing I didn't respond, he glared at me, then said very anxiously in a small voice, "You promised me in the car. Adults can't go back on their word." I helplessly crouched down, smoothing out his flipped-up collar and ruffled his hair. His hair was black and soft. Felt nice to touch. "Okay, I'll come pick you up." He couldn't help but smile, but tried hard to keep a straight face, lifting his chin maturely and saying reservedly, "Okay, I'll remember to wait for you." Only after his figure completely disappeared from my sight did I look away. I found his teacher and asked about Asher's situation at kindergarten. The teacher hemmed and hawed, finally sighing and complaining. "I know the Wilson family is powerful and influential, and what I say probably won't matter. But Asher's mom, no matter how busy you are, you can't just ignore your child." Since he enrolled, no one has ever come to a parent-teacher conference. Now all the kids in the class are saying he doesn't have a mom. This is really bad for his mental and emotional development. No one had ever come to a parent-teacher conference, even if ever. Wilson was busy and didn't like this child. Was he too lazy to even send an assistant? I frowned, thinking for the first time that I might have made the wrong decision. Maybe I shouldn't have given up custody back then. But at that time, I was penniless. My parents were in comas in the hospital. I couldn't even support myself. How could I have raised a fragile child? I pulled up River Wilson's number, hesitated, then dialed. I decided to have a serious talk with him. If River Wilson really didn't want to raise him anymore, I would bring Asher to live with me. I couldn't provide him with conditions as good as the Wilson family's. I had enough to raise a child. Now, the phone had just started ringing when I heard a ringtone behind me. I turned around slowly. River Wilson stood there, dressed in a dark gray suit, his face cold and expressionless. He held his phone in one hand. The screen still lit up. The ringtone was identical to mine. It was the song I had set for him 6 years ago. He hadn't changed it. I stared at him, my fingers trembling as I ended the call. The line went dead. River's phone stopped ringing too. He walked toward me, each step measured and deliberate. The parents and children around us instinctively moved aside, sensing the tension radiating from him. He stopped in front of me, his height forcing me to look up. 6 years had changed him. He was even colder now, his eyes like ice. No trace of the warmth that once filled them. "Why are you here?" His voice was low. Dangerous. I didn't back down. "I'm here to pick up my son." "Your son?" He laughed. A cold, humorless sound. "You abandoned him 6 years ago. You have no right to call him that." "I abandoned him because I had no choice." My voice trembled, but I held his gaze. My parents were in comas. I was penniless. I couldn't even take care of myself. How could I raise a child? "You could have asked for help." His eyes narrowed. "The Wilson family would have supported you. But you didn't. You just gave up. You gave up on him. You gave up on us." "I gave up because you hated me." The words burst out before I could stop them. You looked at me with such disgust, as if I was the most repulsive thing in the world. How was I supposed to stay? How was I supposed to raise our child when his own father couldn't stand to look at me? River's jaw tightened. "I didn't hate you. You did. I saw it in your eyes. I saw it every time you looked at me." He was silent for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "I don't hate you now. I don't feel anything at all." The words hit me like a physical blow. 6 years. 6 years of separation. And he felt nothing. "Where's Asher?" I asked, my voice steady despite the pain. "Inside." He gestured toward the kindergarten. "I'm taking him back." "No." The word escaped before I could think. River raised an eyebrow. "No? You can't take him back." I looked him in the eye. "He came to me last night. He said you don't want him anymore. He said you told him to leave and never come back." River's expression flickered. A shadow crossed his face. "He was lying," he said. "I didn't mean it." "Then why did you say it?" "I don't know." He turned away, running a hand through his hair. I was angry. I was frustrated. "He asked about you. He kept asking where his mother was. Why she never came to see him. Why she didn't love him. And I couldn't answer him. I couldn't tell him the truth. So I got angry. I told him to leave." I turned away, my vision blurring. "He asked about me. All these years. He still asked about me." River grabbed my arm, his grip tight. "Tell me the truth. Did you ever love him? Did you ever love me? Or was it all just destiny? Some story written for you. And when the script changed, you moved on? I looked at him. Really looked at him. I saw the pain he tried so hard to hide. The questions he'd been asking for 6 years. I loved you, I said softly. I loved you more than anything. And I loved Asher. I loved him from the moment I knew he existed. But I was scared. I was so scared. River's grip loosened. Scared of what? Scared that I wasn't good enough. Scared that I would fail him like I failed everything else. Scared that he would grow up to hate me. Just like you did. I took a deep breath. I almost made a terrible mistake. River froze. What? The night he was born. I almost made a terrible mistake. I told him everything. About my severe postpartum depression. About the nurses stopping me. About the guilt that had haunted me for 6 years. River's face went pale. He took a step back. As if I had physically struck him. You. He couldn't finish the sentence. I know. I looked down at my hands. I'm a monster. I don't deserve him. I don't deserve to be his mother. River was silent for a long time. Then he said, you didn't do it. You stopped. That's what matters. But I wanted to. I wanted to take him with me. But you didn't. His voice was firm. You stopped. And that's why you let him go. Because you were afraid you would hurt him again. I nodded. Tears streaming down my face. I couldn't trust myself. I still can't. River reached out. Then pulled his hand back. We both stood there. 6 years of pain and regret between us. Then the school bell rang. Children poured out of the building. Laughing and shouting. Asher was among them. He spotted us immediately. His eyes lit up. He ran toward us. His backpack bouncing. Mom. He threw himself into my arms. I caught him. Holding him tight. You came back. He buried his face in my shoulder. I promised I would. I kissed the top of his head. When I looked up, River was watching us. There was something in his eyes now. Something I hadn't seen in 6 years. Longing. He missed this. He missed us. Dad. Asher pulled away from me. His expression guarded. Are you taking me back? River looked at his son. Do you want to go back? Asher hesitated. He looked at me. Then back at his father. I want to stay with Mom. River's face fell. But, Asher continued. I want to know you too. Can I have both? Can I have a mom and a dad? The question hung in the air. River looked at me. His eyes searching mine. What do you want? He asked. I want what's best for Asher. I said. But I don't know what that is anymore. I thought giving him up was the right choice. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have fought for him. River nodded slowly. We made mistakes. Both of us. We let our pain and pride come before our son. He looked at Asher. I'm sorry. For everything. For not being there. For not answering your questions. For making you feel unwanted. Asher's eyes widened. He'd never heard his father apologize before. I'm sorry too. I said to Asher. For not being there. For giving up on you. For letting you believe you weren't loved. Asher looked between us. His small face serious. Then he did something unexpected. He reached out and took both our hands. His small fingers wrapped around mine on one side. River's on the other. Can we go home now? He asked. He looked at me. Can I come home with you tonight? And can Dad come too? I looked at River in surprise. River looked just as shocked. But then his expression softened. If that's what you want. Yes. I squeezed Asher's hand. You can come home with me. And your dad can come too. Asher beamed. He swung our hands back and forth. As if this was the most natural thing in the world. As if we were a normal family. As if the past 6 years had never happened. We walked to my car. River followed in his. The drive back to my apartment was quiet. Asher chattered happily in the back seat, telling us about his day at school. I watched River in the rearview mirror. He was listening intently. A small smile on his face. For the first time in 6 years, he looked at peace. When we arrived at my apartment, River looked around. It was small and modest. Nothing like the Wilson mansion. But it was clean and warm. Homie, this is where you live? He asked. Yes. I unlocked the door. It's not much. But it's mine. River nodded. It's nice. He meant it. We went inside. Asher immediately claimed the couch. Turning on the TV, River stood awkwardly in the middle of the room. 6 years. We hadn't been alone together in 6 years. Do you want something to drink? I asked. Water is fine. He followed me to the kitchen. The small space felt intimate. Too intimate. I could feel him behind me. His presence overwhelming. I turned around and found him watching me. What? I asked. My voice breathless. Nothing. He stepped closer. He reached out, tracing the line of my jaw with his thumb. I missed you. My heart stopped. You hated me. I reminded him. I know. His thumb moved to my lips. But I still missed you. Every day. For 6 years. He leaned in. I should pull away. I should stop this. 6 years of hurt. 6 years of silence. 6 years of him never coming for me. I stepped back, breaking the contact. River. I said, my voice trembling. We can't just pretend the past 6 years didn't happen. You never came for me. You never even tried to find me. How can you say you miss me? River's hand dropped. His eyes filled with pain. I wanted to, he said. I wanted to come for you every single day. But I couldn't. Why not? I demanded. Because I was fighting. Fighting what? Fighting the system. Fighting the correction. He took a deep breath. After you left, something changed. The hold on me weakened. Because I was no longer in the main storyline. The system's control over my emotions started to fade. But it didn't disappear completely. For years, I struggled. I felt myself loving you. But then the correction would kick in, forcing me to hate you again. It was torture. I couldn't trust my own feelings. I didn't know what was real and what was programmed. So I stayed away. I thought if I came to you, I would only hurt you again. I thought you were better off without me. I stared at him, processing his words. So you just gave up? No. He shook his head. I fought. Every day. I fought. And slowly, very slowly, I started winning. The system's influence weakened. My real feelings surfaced. And for the first time in years, I knew what I felt was real. I loved you. I still loved you. But by then, 6 years had passed. I thought you had moved on. I thought you hated me. I didn't think I had the right to come back into your life. I looked at him, seeing the pain in his eyes, the regret, the love. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to forgive him. But 6 years of hurt couldn't just disappear. River. I said softly. I need time. I can't just forget everything that happened. I can't just pretend you didn't abandon me for 6 years. He nodded. I know. I don't expect you to. But please, let me try. Let me show you that I've changed. Let me prove that I'm never giving up on you again. I hesitated. Then I said, okay, but we take it slow. One day at a time. He smiled. A small, hopeful smile. Okay, one day at a time. He stepped closer again. But this time he didn't try to kiss me. Instead, he pulled me into a hug. Just a hug. Warm and comforting. I leaned into him, closing my eyes. For a moment. Just a moment. I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we could do this. Maybe we could heal. Maybe we could be a family. Mom? Dad? We pulled apart quickly. Asher stood in the doorway, his eyes wide. Were you hugging? He asked. River and I looked at each other, then back at Asher. Yes, River said. We were hugging. Asher's face lit up. Does this mean you're getting back together? Are we going to be a real family? The hope in his voice broke my heart. We don't know yet, I said gently. It's complicated. But I looked at River. We're trying. Asher nodded seriously. Okay. He climbed onto a kitchen chair. But you have to try hard. Because I really want a family. I want both of you. I looked at River again. He was already looking at me. His eyes were soft, full of emotion. We will try, he said. For you. And for us. Asher seemed satisfied. He hopped off the chair. I'm hungry. What's for dinner? I laughed. The tension broken. Let's see what I have in the fridge. As I cooked, River helped. We moved around the small kitchen together, falling into an old rhythm. Like we'd never been apart. Like the past 6 years had never happened. Asher sat at the table, watching us with a happy smile. For the first time in a long time, I felt hope. Maybe things could be different. Maybe we could be a family. Maybe destiny wasn't set in stone after all. After dinner, we sat on the couch together. Asher between us, his head on my shoulder, his hand in River's. We watched a movie, but I wasn't paying attention. I was watching them. Father and son. So alike, yet so different. Asher had River's eyes, his nose, his stubborn chin. But he had something River didn't. He had innocence, hope, a belief that things could be better. River had lost that long ago. Maybe Asher could help him find it again. When the movie ended, Asher was asleep. River picked him up gently, carrying him to the bedroom. I followed, watching as he tucked Asher into bed. He kissed his forehead, a tender gesture I'd never seen from him before. Good night, son, he whispered. We stepped out of the room, leaving the door slightly ajar. River turned to me. I should go, he said. It's late. You could stay. The words were out before I could stop them. River's eyes widened. Are you sure? Yes. I took a deep breath. I want you to stay. River nodded. Okay. He looked around the small apartment. Where will I sleep? The couch, I said. It's not very comfortable. But you could sleep in the bed, he interrupted. With Asher. And me. My heart raced. River. I'm not suggesting anything inappropriate. He held up his hands. I don't want to be alone tonight. And I don't think you do either. I looked at him. Really looked at him. He was right. I didn't want to be alone. I wanted this. I wanted him. Okay, I said softly. Let's go to bed. We climbed into bed. Asher between us. He stirred but didn't wake up. Snuggling closer to River. River wrapped an arm around him. Then reached for me. I took his hand. Interlacing our fingers. In the darkness. I could hear them breathing. Asher's soft. Steady breaths. River's deeper. Slower rhythm. I closed my eyes. For the first time in 6 years. I felt at peace. I felt like I was home. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the window. For a moment. I forgot where I was. Then I felt the warmth beside me. River. And Asher. They were still asleep. Curled up together. I watched them for a long time. Memorizing this moment. This perfect, impossible moment. River's eyes opened. He saw me watching him and smiled. Good morning, he whispered. Good morning. I leaned over and kissed him. A soft, gentle kiss. Full of promise. Asher stirred between us. He rubbed his eyes, then smiled when he saw us. Good morning, he chirped. Are we going to be a family today too? River and I looked at each other. Yes, River said. Every day. Asher cheered. Throwing his arms around both of us. We laughed, holding each other close. In that moment, I knew everything would be okay. We had a long road ahead of us. 6 years of hurt to heal. Trust to rebuild. But we would do it together. For Asher. For us. For the family we were becoming. River's phone buzzed. He checked it and frowned. I have to go, he said. Work. But I'll be back. I promise. He kissed Asher. Then me. I'll pick you both up for dinner tonight. Okay. I nodded. Okay. He left. And the apartment felt empty without him. But it was a different kind of empty. Not lonely anymore. Just waiting for him to return. Asher and I spent the day together. We went to the park. Played games. Ate ice cream. He told me about his life at the Wilson mansion. About the tutors. The lessons. The loneliness. It broke my heart to hear it. But it also made me more determined. Determined to give him the childhood he deserved. Full of love and laughter. Not just lessons and expectations. When River picked us up that evening, he brought gifts. For Asher, a new backpack and art supplies. For me, a single rose. I know I have a lot to make up for, he said. I know I can't fix 6 years in one day. But I want to try. I want to spend the rest of my life proving that I'll never let you down again. The words hung in the air. 6 years. And he was promising forever now. I looked at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. I know it will take time, he continued. I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to work for it. Because you and Asher are worth it. You're worth everything. I squeezed his hand, tears in my eyes. Okay, I whispered. Let's try. He pulled me into his arms, holding me tight. I never stopped loving you, he said softly. Even when I thought I hated you, I still loved you. I buried my face in his chest. I know. Me too. We went to dinner at a nice restaurant. Asher was on his best behavior. But his excitement was palpable. He kept looking around, grinning at everyone, as if announcing to the world that he had a family now. After dinner, River drove us back to the Wilson mansion. I hesitated at the gate. Are you sure about this? I asked. Yes. River squeezed my hand. I want them to meet you. Properly this time. As my wife. As Asher's mother. My heart pounded. Old Mr. Wilson. The man who had fought so hard for custody. The man who had despised me. What would he say? What would he do? But River's hand in mine gave me courage. We walked inside together. The house was just as I remembered. Grand. Imposing. Cold. Servants lined the hallway, bowing as we passed. We went to the main sitting room. Old Mr. Wilson was there, reading a newspaper. He looked up when we entered. His eyes widened when he saw me. River, he said. What is the meaning of this? I've brought Jade home, River said firmly. And Asher. They're going to stay here from now on. Old Mr. Wilson stood up, his face flushed with anger. Absolutely not. That woman abandoned her child. She has no place here. She didn't abandon him. River's voice was hard. She gave him up because she had no choice. Because of what you did. What I did. Old Mr. Wilson sputtered. You arranged for me to marry Lily. You turned everyone against her. You made her feel like she had no choice but to leave. River stepped forward. And you've been neglecting Asher for 6 years. No parent-teacher conferences. No affection. No love. He's been raising himself in this house. Old Mr. Wilson's face paled. He couldn't find words. River wasn't done. I'm done letting you control my life. I'm done letting you hurt the people I love. He took my hand. Jade is my wife. She always has been. And she always will be. Asher is our son. And we're going to raise him together. As a family. Old Mr. Wilson collapsed back into his chair. He looked old suddenly. Frail. In the past 6 years, his health had declined. He had suffered a stroke 2 years ago. And though he recovered, he was never the same. He had spent countless nights watching Asher play alone in the garden. Seeing the loneliness in his grandson's eyes, he had tried to fill the void with toys and lessons, but nothing worked. He knew, deep down, that he had failed Asher, that his pride and stubbornness had cost his grandson the one thing he truly needed, his mother. And now, seeing River stand up to him for the first time, seeing the determination in his son's eyes, seeing the way Asher looked at this woman, he knew he had lost. Not just the argument, but something more important, his chance to be the grandfather Asher deserved. You're making a mistake, he said weakly, though his voice lacked conviction. She'll hurt you again. She'll leave you again. No, she won't. River looked at me. Because I'm never letting her go again. I squeezed his hand, tears in my eyes. I'm never leaving either. I said, I'm here to stay. Old Mr. Wilson looked at us for a long time. His eyes softened. Just a little. Maybe he saw something in us that he hadn't seen in years. Love. Real love. The kind he had never been able to give. Then he sighed. Fine. Do what you want. But don't come crying to me when it all falls apart. He stood up slowly, his movements stiff and pained. As he walked past us, he paused for a moment. He looked at Asher, then at me. Just make him happy, he said quietly. That's all I ask. Then he left the room, leaving us in silence. River turned to me. Are you okay? He asked. I nodded. I'm fine. Better than fine. We're home. Asher tugged on my hand. Can I see my room? He asked. Of course. River picked him up. Let me show you. I followed them up the stairs, watching his father and son laugh together. This was what I had always wanted, what I had given up on ever having. And now it was mine. We spent the night at the mansion. Asher was thrilled with his room, full of toys and books. River and I stayed in the master bedroom, the room we had shared briefly, before everything fell apart. It felt different now, warmer, like it was really ours. We lay in bed together, River holding me close. I never thought we'd be here again, he whispered. Me neither. I traced patterns on his chest. But I'm glad we are. He kissed my forehead. Me too. We fell asleep wrapped in each other's arms, at peace. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. I moved back into the mansion. River and I worked on rebuilding our relationship. We went to therapy. We talked, really talked, about everything that had happened, about our fears, our regrets, our hopes. It wasn't easy. There were arguments, tears, moments when we wanted to give up. But we kept going, because we had something worth fighting for. Asher flourished. He was happier than I'd ever seen him. He had both parents now, both of them loving him, attending his school events, helping with homework, tucking him in at night. He was finally getting the childhood he deserved. One day, River came home with news. I've been thinking, he said. About what? About us. About our future. He took my hands. I want to renew our vows. I want to do it right this time. A real wedding. With family and friends. With Asher as our ring bearer. I stared at him. Are you serious? Yes. He smiled. I want everyone to know that we're together. That we're committed to each other. That we're a family. Tears filled my eyes. Yes. I whispered. Yes. The wedding was beautiful. Small but perfect. We got married in the garden, surrounded by flowers and sunlight. Asher walked down the aisle ahead of me, beaming with pride. River waited at the altar, his eyes full of love as I approached. We said our vows, promising to love and cherish each other, to be there for each other, to never give up on each other. And this time, we meant it. We danced our first dance as husband and wife, Asher joining in halfway through, laughing as he spun between us. I looked around at our friends and family, at the life we had built, at the love we had fought for, and I knew, this was it. This was my happily ever after. Not because destiny said so, but because we chose it. Every day, we chose each other. We chose love. We chose our family. And that was enough. That was everything. The years passed. Our family grew. We had 2 more children, a daughter and another son. Asher was a wonderful big brother, protective and kind. River and I grew old together, our love only deepening with time. We faced challenges. Of course, life was never perfect, but we faced them together. As a team, as partners, as soulmates. Sometimes I thought about that night 6 years ago. The night I almost gave up. The night I almost lost everything. And I thanked God that I didn't. That I held on. That I kept fighting. Because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have this. This beautiful, messy, perfect life. This love that defied destiny. This family that shouldn't exist, but did. River would catch me staring sometimes. "What are you thinking about?" he'd ask. And I'd smile and say, "Just how lucky I am." And he'd kiss me and say, "No, I'm the lucky one." And in those moments, I knew he was right. We were both lucky. Lucky to have found each other. Lucky to have held on. Lucky to have this second chance. A chance to get it right. A chance to love each other the way we deserved. A chance to be the family we were always meant to be. And as I watched our children play, as I held River's hand, as I felt the warmth of his love surround me, I knew one thing for certain. Destiny had tried to keep us apart. But love had won. And that was all that mattered.